Hello everybody, this is Abby Normal and welcome back to Cupid, my favourite visual novel at this precise time because I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what happens and finally maybe getting to the end. I don't know, I think we might be a while away yet because Rosa still has 2 candles to light. Okay, they didn't speak for a while, both still dazed and shocked by the turn of events. Rosa, how's your arm? Gilly hid the injured arm away from view. Fine. Just a scratch. The bleeding hadn't stopped yet. Rosa could tell the cut was deeper than Gilly let on. What is happening? What has gotten into Catherine? Gilly just shrugged with a cold expression of worry on his face. I wish I knew, Rosa. The state she is in scares me, to be honest. It might be an onset of an episode waiting to happen. Like her sister before. Rosa's mouth tightened. How dare you say that? She is not crazy. Rosa searched his face for traces of a lie, but it was like the mask contorted by worry. She couldn't tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. Oh, he's doing both, because he's saying he doesn't know what happened to her, but at the same time, he is worried for her. She asked me to protect her from you. Did you hurt her? You know I wouldn't. She's unwell. It seems I am the target of her psychotic state. That is all I know. But why? Stop. Stop it, Rosa. It hurts me too, seeing her like this. Please stop questioning me further. I'm going to call a physician. Please stay with her in the meantime. See that she doesn't harm herself again. For a moment he met her eyes. Before she could say more, however, he turned round and left. See if his pants have caught fire yet, child. There was nothing she could do about him for now. Rosa left to get a bowl of fresh water and a towel to tend to Catherine's fingers. Oh, Kath, no! Catherine had an uneasy sleep while Rosa cleaned her wounds as best she could. She muttered, squealed, and whimpered like a child. It seemed that she was having a nightmare, but Rosa didn't dare wake her before the physician arrived. Instead, she stroked her hair and told her everything would be all right. She tried to appease the growing confusion of voices in her head. What had happened between Catherine and Gilly? Their relationship was often erratic, but Rosa dismissed the possibility that this was one of their usual fights. Rosa remembered Catherine's face, filled with utter spite at the man. She had never seen that much hatred in Catherine. After a few minutes, Catherine's eyes fluttered open. She looked around with some confusion, and then her gaze settled on Rosa. Tears welled up in her eyes. Rosa? Rosa held her outstretched hand. Her heart broke when she saw Catherine wince. Rosa, I'm so scared. Everything is such a mess. It's going to be all right, Kath. Don't worry now, just try to sleep some more. No, you don't understand. Catherine tried to sit up, but Rosa pushed her down gently. You need rest, Kath. I hate him. This is all his fault. She sniffed, but settled down on her pillow once more. When she spoke again, it was a whisper. Rosa, She chewed on her dry, chapped lips for a moment, as if she couldn't get the words out. I don't think I love him anymore. What? A dry sob escaped her, followed by tears rolling down her cheeks. Had Catherine really just said that? But I don't understand this. When I think of him, Her voice cracked. She shuddered under the blanket like an ill breeze had just sprung up in the room. It's like bugs are crawling under my skin. I can't bear to look at him anymore. I can't. I can't even say his name. Why? Do you remember when exactly you started feeling this way? That night. Rosa winced. Catherine covered her face with her hands. It was a horrible night. Oh. Rosa's chest hurt. Was this her fault? She didn't know what she had done, but didn't she do something to her? I'm sorry. Catherine went on like she hadn't heard her. I went to his room. We spent the night together. Rosa waited for Catherine to continue, but the girl stared blankly. She just stopped speaking, as if forgetting she ever spoke at all. Kath, did he hurt you that night? Oh, maybe. Catherine shook her head. I don't know. She grabbed her head and sobbed. The grip on Rosa's heart tightened. How can this be? Her eyes drowned in tears. I love him, Rosa. Don't I? I remember everything. I love him. I know I do. I'm sure I do. But I hate him too. To the very core. I want to hurt him and punish him for something. I want to snuff out the breath from his throat. But sometimes Catherine's eyes went blank. I just don't care for him at all. Sometimes I feel nothing. Nothing at all. And that scares me more. She laid on the bed, quiet now, letting the tears flow out of her eyes without wiping them. I'm going mad, Rosa. Catherine. I am. Aren't I? Like my sister. Like my mother. It runs in our blood. They said I am a child of a madwoman. Oh, wait, hang on. They said I'm going to turn out exactly like her. Rosa stroked her hair and tried her best to soothe her, saying that everything would be all right. They were empty words, but she didn't know what else to say. She wanted them to be true so badly for her friend's sake as well as her own. Was Gilly really the cause of Catherine's confusion and pain? Pangs of guilt pricked her like tiny needles. Or was this her fault? Rubbish! You fool! This is all his fault. I can feel it. We must get to the bottom of this. Yes, Mother. Rosa looked down at her best friend and nodded slightly to herself. Everything will be all right, Catherine. I promise. She would make it all right. Somehow. She had to. The physician arrived shortly, but he did little to help Catherine. Catherine never regained her personality. Got something in my mouth. She remained moody and irritable, breaking out into fits of hysterical laughter or heartbreaking sobs at seemingly random intervals. Gilly and Rosa would take turns to tend to her. Her moods fluctuated, her temper uncontrollable. There were times she begged for attention from Gilly, almost clinging to him in despair, never letting him out of her sight. Other times she couldn't stand his very presence. Soon neither Gilly nor Rosa could console her any more. She withdrew entirely from the household. She starved herself, stopped coming to meals, stopped caring for herself. Her manic episodes degraded to long stretches of blank silence. Emptiness ruled her life. Looking at her eyes in those last days, it was like a fire had been snuffed out behind them, like the star that had been shining through them had imploded. Bang! Oh my god, there's a pause. Oh god, give me a drink. There we go, I'm done. Chapter 5. Psyche. In the once slumbering town, the streets were alive with flowers. Pretty young girls wrapped in thin white dresses lined up their rows, tittering excitedly among themselves. Each maiden was armed with a basket brimming with flowers. When the clock struck 8, it was the given signal. I'm going to open my curtains because there's fireworks outside and it's making me feel like this is a festival. Girl by girl, the rows progressed down the crowded streets, their dresses twirling as they danced. Colour scattered as they unloaded their baskets. Dahlias, tulips, orchids, poppies, sweet peas, they all swirled across the air and into the hands of startled citizens. The young men on the street sprang into the action. They cheered and hooted and clapped and laughed, and the girls curtsied to them in return. Some intrepid boys even dared blow a kiss, hoping for a reward. And when the girls blew kisses back, they reddened to the tips of their ears and hooted in joy. This is the past. We are in the past. Why are we in the past? Okay. Rose! Hey, Rose! I have to blow my nose. Festival season, it does this. At first, she didn't know who he was talking to, but then she saw the rose he flourished in front of her like a gentleman's magic trick. Oh, I'll have to call you something, right? How about Rose? This particular boy had been at her tail for several days now. The flower festival was a good excuse for romance. It was around this time that the young men of the town went around wooing their prospective lovers. She looks like a child, so I think not. Most would have gotten for a taller, more outspoken type of girl, but for some reason this boy was smitten with her. Go on, take it. She shook her head. She knew she didn't deserve it. Again with the stone-cold act. Come on, you're breaking my heart. He laughed gaily, enjoying the thrill of courtship. Why do you love me so much? Is that what's bothering you? I'll tell you one thing, Rose, and you'd better remember this for the rest of your life. When someone loves someone else, there's no need for a reason. I just love you, Rose. Won't you at least smile at me? You love me? He flashed his best youthful grin. Sure I love you. To the moon and back. She knew she shouldn't take the rose. She knew it was wrong. And yet she also knew at this instant that her face was burning hot. Her fingers closed on the rose. And even as she felt the thorns on her skin, she still held on to it. The expression on the boy's face was one of absolute bliss. He hooted and did a little dance. I do love you, Rose, I really do. He grinned at her. And to her surprise, she found herself smiling back. A warm, pleasant feeling gushed inside her. It was like tucking into a hot, home-cooked meal. Mother, I'm home! Nowadays, she and her mother lived in a quiet cottage far away from the main streets. The joy and exuberance of the flower festival had long since faded away now, leaving her with the stillness of the lonely house. Mother, are you home? There was no answer, not even a sound. Oh, Usually her mother would have heard the door by now. She would run up and plaster her with hugs and kisses. Now, however, the unnerving silence meant one of two things. One, Mother was not here, which wasn't possible because she was always here. Or two, Mother was angry. Rosa felt a chill run down her spine as she realised. Was it possible that Mother had her suspicions and had followed her? Mother, I'm coming inside now. Oh, the sound of the door closing was like a clash of thunder. Rosa bowed her head, descended deeper into the house. Mother was in the kitchen. She was bent down with her back to the doorway, washing clothes in a wooden basin. She looked just like a normal mother, but Rosa knew better, because just above Mother hung the cross. It was a heavy wooden crucifix and it had been there as long as Rosa could remember. It was so solid that if it were to drop, it would crush someone's toe. Oh no, okay, yeah, no. Ugh. The girl knew this well. Having felt the cross so many times, she knew exactly how heavy it was. Okay, this is going to be... Okay, guys, this is probably going to be a bit uncomfortable. I'm going to put a warning for some people. This is a bit sensitive. The sharp corners of the cross were especially capable of drawing blood. Mother dipped her hands into the water. Squitch, squitch. She crushed the clothes in a vice grip. Where did you go? Her sudden question sliced through the air and Rosa almost jumped out of her skin. Just the marketplace, Mother. She tried to press the plump red rose behind her to stomp on it and make it disappear into the ground. But it was too late. Mother stood up. Mother? Oh. It's not what you think, I swear. I'm not planning to see him again. I just wanted to make him happy, that's all. If Rosa looked at her mother any longer, she thought her courage would dry up, so she quickly glanced at her feet. I'll throw away the rose. I'll make sure you never see it again. So... Oh. The blow came so fast she never expected it. Suddenly she was on her knees, her skull throbbing in pain. She looked up just in time to see her mother raise the cross another time. Fear overtook her. Although she knew it was no use running, she scrambled away all the same. Mother, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. How much do you think raising a child costs, you little rat? Mother, please. Undeterred, the cross slammed hard into Rosa's collarbone. Oh, she shrieked, rolled over and tried to get back to her feet. I clothe you, I house you, and I even feed you. I protect you from everything that might harm you. And yet I ask nothing in return. Absolutely nothing. Didn't I tell you not to go to that festival? Yet you just can't help shaking your hips at those men, can you? All of them are the same. Didn't I say it? Oh. Up and down came the cross. By now Rosa had resorted to curling up into a ball and covering her eyes. She cried out her pleas, her vows of obedience and love. Do you have any idea how much I've sacrificed? What I have wasted my life for? To be stuck with a stupid child who doesn't know how to listen. I have told you time and again, do not disobey me. Mother, I should have smothered you years ago. You are a curse. I do all of this for you to protect you. And you repay me how? With lies and betrayal? I should have thrown you out of the window and watched the crows feed on your remains. It's not too late now, don't you think? Maybe I should teach you a harder lesson. Maybe I should leave here right now and never come back. Worse than any physical pain, the girl felt a despair so big it made her heart burst. Rosa clung to her mother's legs. Please, Mother, please don't leave me. I'll atone for this somehow, Mother, so please, stay with me. You are beyond atonement, you dirty child! With one final strike, Mother sent her spinning to the ground. The cross had hit her face. Rosa tried to open her eyes, but felt something warm trickle down her face. She lay on the floor, crying. Her tears mixed with the blood, and she wondered if Mother really was going to walk out of the house. She could still hear Mother's footsteps, feet thudding near to her head. At first they were hard and fast, then slow and hesitant. At some point in time, Rosa realised that the blows had stopped. She dared not raise her head from the floor, so she waited. Something touched her head. It wasn't a cross, but a soft, warm hand. The sound of a sob. Darling, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. What have I done? Rosa tensed, but she allowed her mother to sit her up. The next thing she knew, Mother had wrapped her arms around her. She was still crying. You poor thing. I'm so sorry. Mother is so stupid. Her tears were genuine and mournful. The sorrow in her eyes hurt a million times more than any blow. I shouldn't have done that. The woman stared at her hands. She dropped the cross as if it was spoiled meat. The girl let her mother hug her. It was her fault anyway. She had disobeyed Mother. She deserved the punishment. She drowned herself in her arms and felt the familiar surge of love. This was home. Home. No matter how broken. Life before Mother was a blur. She was nothing without her. Mother looked into her eyes and touched her face, wiping away her tears. She locked her lips around hers and delivered a long, deep kiss. I love you so much, my darling. Please, please forgive me. I love you too, Mother. Don't cry. Oh, while you're bleeding, just wait here. Mother sat her on a chair and returned with a roll of bandages. She began nursing Rosa's head with a delicate care. I'm sorry, Mother. No. I'm the one who's sorry. Forgive me for what I said. You know I would never leave you, right? Even if you've committed the foulest sin, I will never desert you. I will always be by your side. Thank you, Mother. I get worried, darling, you understand? Yes. I am very afraid. Always afraid. The woman's voice dropped into a whisper. A sudden split second of lucidity. You scare me. She shook her head, forgetting the thought. Just obey me from now on, promise. Mother knows what's best for you. Yes, Mother. Later on at dinner time, Rosa's favourite dish was on the menu. The vegetable and meat stew with brown gravy that only her mother would make. Rosa tucked in eagerly, all the while feeling the cool bandage pressing lightly against her forehead. The events of the past hour had already seemed to fade away into a distant memory. Mother sat across the table, also eating. She seemed to be deep in thought. Mother? I won't see that boy anymore. If he calls out to me, I'll run away until he can't catch me. I know you will do the right thing, my darling. You didn't ask for all of this, did you? You poor thing. If only your father was a better man. Here, Rosa pricked up her ears. It was rare to hear Mother talk about father, and even rarer to see her mention him so calmly. All throughout her life, Rosa had wondered about the man whom Mother had fallen in love with. Now it looked like she had the opportunity to glean a few more rare bits of information. Father, was he good to you? Mother puckered up her lips and appeared to ignore this. Rosa decided to risk it and asked another question, tentatively. Did you love him a lot? Mother's eyes were somewhere far away. I don't know. No emotion, neither pain nor fondness registered on her face. But he certainly loved me back then. Maybe. Now I'm smarter. I know better than to trust men like him. You too will understand when you grow up that people who love you will hurt you the most, and you will only have yourself to blame. After all, you gave them permission to rearrange the awnings of your soul. Do not give anyone permission. Rosa nodded. Oh, hang on. I actually have to blow my nose and wipe my eyes, because I got a little bit emotional during that part. I'm okay. Rosa nodded, accepting her mother's teachings. Promise me, darling, when the time comes and you meet a demon like your father, you will do the right thing. Deliver the punishment they deserve. Punish him. Rosa's hands were over her head. She pressed herself into a corner, panting. She had never heard Mother this loud before. Punishment! Oh. This one was so loud it rattled around her skull and made her vision blur. Mother, what more do you want? The spell is already... She bent her head down, black spots creeping onto the edge of her vision. She was so tired. You cannot hide anything from me. What is this doubt you are nursing? You are hesitating. You are crafting another spell. You stupid harlot! That filthy Marquis is exactly the kind of monster I have been warning you about. You dare plan behind my back? I just don't want to kill anymore, Mother. Anymore? Oh, Rosa, who have you killed? She couldn't help but answer back this time. How could she not? After years filled with love and acceptance, it made her realise all the more how precious life was. The thought of snuffing out somebody else's life sent a detestable shiver through her bones. She had planned on running away from this place, abandoning whatever duty that now fell into her hands. Why was it her duty anyway? She just wanted to take the good memories of this place and taint them no longer. Whatever truth she sought wasn't enough payment for peace. I don't want to. Her voice shook. I don't want to kill him, Mother. I don't want to kill anyone, please. Is this cowardice or stupidity? I hate being the voice of the mother because no answer is good for Rosa. I did blow my nose. I'm so upset. Okay. If I say you fancy him, don't you? Rosa will then admit the feelings inside of herself that, hey, actually I do love him. And it'll be like, oh no, he's just going to hurt you like he did your best friend. How could you do that? You hate him, don't you? Is that me affirming the hatred that she may feel towards him because of Catherine's death? I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this bullshit. Yes, sure you want to. Yes, I do. I'm tired. It's just, you fancy him. Or maybe the voice pewtered out into an abrupt, chilly silence. Rosa waited, sweat dripping down her brow. I knew it. You fancy him, don't you? You brainless worm! It's not like that, Mother. Past and present, rinse and repeat. Always, always a selfish little girl. Rosa was horrified. Oh, no, I'm not selfish. A selfish little girl that loves a murderer more than her own mother. With this final proclamation, Rosa was struck to the floor. The feeling of fainting was stronger than ever. Alone in the dark, she lay there, panting like a sick dog, waiting for what would come next. Oh no! Oh no! No! I don't know! Damn it. Gilly killed me. He made me love him and then he betrayed me. He deserves death. Only you can kill him. I can't kill him. It's what I want. Oh, that's not true. It is. I want to see justice served. You'll do that for me, won't you, Rosa? My darling daughter. I could always count on you to do the right thing. So kill him. Kill Gilly. Kill him. Promise me. Make him suffer. Stab him with a knife. Stick a dagger down his throat. Gouge his eyes out. Execute his sentence. Rosa clutched her head so hard she thought her skull would burst. For a long moment she lay there as though she were dead. 5 minutes, 10 minutes passed. Then in the middle of the empty room, Rosa's voice rang out as clear as a bell. I understand. Do you? Do you? Because I don't. Rosa knocked on Gilly's door, carrying a tray of food. She had been poisoning his meals in small doses for weeks now, taking note of any ill effects it yielded. There had been none. His body can probably digest it because he's a demon. I'm still sure about my theory that he is a demon. I'm sticking by it. Gilly was as still fit and healthy as ever. No sentences. I need a drink. Oh no, it's worse. It's worse. My cola's flat. Ugh. Okay. No symptoms at all, even after she had increased the dosage. Either he hadn't eaten anything for a month or he was immune to poison. Both possibilities were suspect. Rosa knocked again. There was no response from the other side of the door. It may have worked. It was not a total loss, however. She remembered Catherine mentioning how particular Gilly was with his sleep. Just as she had been about to give up, she had ventured on this hunch. It was true. Gilly was curiously rather sensitive to sedatives. Rosa had offered rose tea to Gilly that afternoon under the guise that she had made a new recipe. It had been laced with opium and valerian, sweetened with honey to mask the taste. Whether or not it was the casting of Philia, he had drunk it without second thought. He had retired early that evening. Rosa noted the grogginess visible in his gait. She snapped the master key this evening. Tonight is her night. Rosa pushed the door to his room open. It took a couple of seconds for her eyes to adjust to the darkness. Felt like I could hear like the distant beat of a heart, and that made me pause because I was like, "What the fuck is that sound?" Ugh. It's not my heart. It's all right then. Okay, close curtains again. I don't want anyone looking in as I get scared. Felt like a different world inside this room. By closing the door, it was as if she had cut herself off from the living. Rosa took an unsure step once she had found her bearings. She placed the tray of food on the nearest flat surface, careful not to make any noise. The candle she lit provided little comfort. It seemed to cower from the intimidating blanket of shadows. Rosa heaved. The air felt humid here, the atmosphere almost stale. Now that she was inside and venturing deeper, a sudden impulse to find the door gripped her. She looked back. It seemed farther away. Why was she so anxious? She had been in this room before. It was perfectly normal. Tonight it was a different story. The room seemed to breathe. Rosa gulped. What a curious word. There was no other way to describe it, though. The flickering shadows made it seem like the walls were aspiring around her. The room felt alive. It was asleep, like its owner, but alive. In the dim light of her candle, the red carpet looked like flesh. The furnishings were viscera. Didn't feel like she entered a room at all. The belly. Belly of the beast! Something darted in the corner of her eye. Rosa snapped her head. Just a curtain. Rosa let out the breath she was holding in her chest, aware with every move her body made. She tiptoed towards the canopy. It was perhaps the highlight of the room, an organic monstrosity of red plush and velvet. From afar, it didn't look like a bed at all, but a cage. If the room was a cavern of meat, this was its heart. It makes sense. He's a succubus, obviously, because it's his bed. Ah! Rosa approached. Every muscle in her body was tense. She could see a figure sprawled on the bed, limbs sticking out clumsily. Nice arm, Gilly. He was lying on his chest, back bare, clothes littering the floor. Gilly seemed to have fallen onto the bed instead of climbing in. One of his arms struck out from the mattress. His breath was fitful but slow, a light snore coming from him. What was that? Oh, I don't know, I'm scared. Rosa looked round for the source of the noise, but the room was still. Oh. A slow trickle of sweat traced her spine. Did that come from the window? To the window? To the wall? So the sweat dripped down the spine. Should she check? Rosa didn't move. Scared. Something was in the room with her. She could feel it. Ugh. She stole a glance at Gilly. He hadn't moved from the bed. Rosa's ears tried to pick up the faintest noise. Felt like hours of her staying frozen on the spot, wishing to blend with the darkness. But there was no one there. She had probably imagined it. She took a deep breath and calmed herself down. The sooner she was out of this room, the better. Philia's effect would diminish once the candle died. After that, she might not have another chance. She had to find out more about him tonight. The thought of her goal helped steel her nerves. Where should she begin? She took a step. I heard that. Rosa darted ahead, looking for the source of the skittering noise. That sounded like birds flapping. Her ears were too sensitive now. She heard every creak and moan in the room. She took a deep breath. Focus. Rosa surveyed everything. There was a book by Gilly's bedside table. It was only a couple of steps away, but she'd have to come dangerously close to the bed. As much as she could, she'd rather maintain the distance between her and the creature on the bed. Creature. Why did she think that? Because he is a creature! Perhaps it was the arrangement of the sheets or the shadows playing their tricks, but Rosa shook her head. Perhaps there was another place to look. We've come here to gather information. You should check the book. Rosa sighed. Mother was right. She had to check every source to be sure. She inched herself closer to the bed. Oh, I didn't like that noise. The faint candlelight indicated that the book on the bedside was red. It wasn't the journal she had seen Gilly write in. Rosa tiptoed her way closer. Gilly's hand dangled mere inches away. Then pretend to wake him up. You have a tray of food. All you have to do is put your hand on him and be like, Gilly, I've brought you food. Gilly. And if he doesn't wake up, then you're good. You're fine. Then you'd be like, okay, I'll just take the book. Don't panic. Just chill. Chill, Rosa. Chill. She reached her arms towards the book. Don't do it, bro. And swiped it noiselessly. The candle almost went out with her sigh. She backed up from the bed with the book under her arm. Adrenaline surged in her blood. It almost made her smile. Rosa examined her prize. A book in a foreign language. She remembered seeing such thin, obscure characters somewhere. She wasn't sure which country, but it was probably Asian. She flipped the book and saw a parchment folded on one of the pages. A sailing permit for a barge named La Victoria, dated for the end of the month. 2 days from now. It outlined the cargo and the purpose of the trip with no date of return. Travelling? No. Leaving. Gilly was planning to leave. This was a suspicion she had had since she had started observing him. His sudden aloofness with the town affairs, the secret purchases of a ship, the decrease of servants in his employ. Now it was confirmed. It's just as well we found this. We must end it tonight before he has a chance to escape. Oh God, it is. Oh God, we are getting close to the end. Oh no. Although it was a good thing to confirm this suspicion, the fact helped her very little. If anything, it just made her more urgent to find something tonight. She had to continue. Rosa steadied herself and stepped back to the bed. Her hand finally brushed against the wood of the table after some quiet fumbling. She caught sight of something shiny inside the drawer. The drawer's not open! Open it, child. Rosa pulled the drawer open ever so slightly. She peeked inside. Inside was an ornate dagger with a golden hilt set in with the rubies. Ooh, hang on, wait. The screen's dark. I can't see. I see no rubies. You lied to me. An old, delicate pattern was carved on its blade. Oh, I see that. There was a heat emanating from it, almost like it was alive, like the rest of the room. She almost missed it in the dim light, but there was also a key in the same cabinet. He's probably going to wake up, isn't he? And okay. If he wakes up, I have no idea what the right answer is. Take tea or take the dagger. Oh, the key. I don't know what the key is for. I could find it somewhere in the room, maybe to the lower drawer or somewhere else, and then I could come back for the dagger and stab him with it. But if I take the dagger first, then if he wakes up and I hide the dagger, then I won't be able to. I won't have the key to find out what it unlocks. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Take the key. Take the key and leave the dagger. I have a bad feeling about that weapon. Leave it be. Rosa agreed with Mother. The weapon was as sinister as it was beautiful. She didn't want to touch it. Rosa took the tiny key into her hand, feeling the cool metal against her palm. There. She pushed the drawer back. Gilly shifted. Rosa blew the candle out. She scuttled behind the small table. It barely hid her. Gilly had changed positions in his sleep. Now his face was in full view and facing her direction. Rosa's heart banged into her chest. It was so loud she was concerned the room might echo the sound and announce her intrusion. She waited for a few minutes before moving. She decided to crouch down, holding the unlit candle close to her chest. What are you, Snake? Easy now. She shuffled away from the bed in relief. The candle was dead, but her eyes were now well adjusted to the darkness. She could make out a desk in the furthest part of the room. He must do most of his writing there. There is a huge chance the journal is near. It wasn't very dignifying, but Rosa decided to crawl towards it. Now that Gilly's face was in full view, a flutter of the eyelid was all it would take to catch her. Not if you gave him sleeping pills, sleeping potions, I don't know. It would be better to minimize her risks. She dropped to her knees and placed her palms on the floor. Rosa, why must you do that? You scared the shit out of me. She drew her hand back. Was she imagining it? When her palms touched the floor, it felt warm. Wet. Gilly, please, at least clean up after yourself. Her fingers were sucked into the floor as if she touched soft, pulpy flesh. The hallucination was so strong that her nose detected a spray of iron in the air. Her stomach heaved. She rubbed her hand. There was no wetness or blood anywhere. The floor was solid. Okay, it must have been her imagination. That's 3 times you've said, it must have been my imagination. Rosa touched the floor warily, patting it and pulling on the carpet fibres. Just a normal carpet. Rosa let out small, slow breaths as she started to move once more. She padded her way to the desk. Every time her skin came into contact with the floor, bile rose up her throat. It took some effort to resist the urge to gag. Finally, the desk was directly in front of her. She looked back at the bed. From this angle, it was hard to tell if Gilly had moved. She hoped that the big desk also hid her in its shadows. Rosa rummaged. There was no trace of the book on the tabletop. She only found a pot of ink, loose sheets of paper, and a quill. The damn thing had to be close. She opened the first shelf and found a stack of papers. Nothing. She shuffled through them, but the drawer didn't have the journal. She looked through the second drawer, and the third, and there was nothing of interest. And finally she pulled on the last drawer. It was locked. Ah, ha, ha, ha! If I hadn't gotten the key, I'd have had to go all the way back over to the bed. I have a feeling. That's my feeling, at least. And Rosa would have probably woken up Gilly. Oh, no, whatever. I don't know. It was locked. Rosa sucked the air through her teeth. Of course it's locked. How could I be so stupid? Rosa slumped in a depressed heap. You've got the key! The key? Rosa looked at the key in her hand. She slid it into the hole and heard the lock click. A deep feeling of relief washed over her. Yes, because I'm smart, see? The drawer slid open. Rosa looked inside. There it was. In her eyes, the green journal was a treasure. She lifted the book from its resting place. It was heavier than she expected. Rosa smiled. She ran her hands along the velvet cover of the book, savouring the texture. At last, she had it. Child. Mother's voice was riddled with anxiety. Something is wrong. Her excitement had clouded her senses. Almost at once she felt the change in the air. Everything was still. Her stomach shrunk into its cavity. Fresh sweat broke out on her scalp. This silence, it had weight. It pressed on her skin and made the air thin in her lungs. Rosa stood up. She had to leave. Now! Rosa shuffled her way out of the room. With every step, her legs seemed to stick uncomfortably to the floor. It slowed her movement. One more step. Her whole foot felt like sinking. She held onto a chair and staggered back. Oh, God, I hate it when you do that. Stop it, Rosa. It was throbbing, musty and red, alive and without skin. The air was filled with the unmistakable stench of fresh meat. Rosa ran to the door. She didn't care that the handle seemed to curl around her fingers. She pushed the door open and spilled into the corridor. Rosa fell to her knees while she heard the door close behind her. It almost felt like the door closed by itself. In her confusion, she couldn't be sure. Rosa's heart pounded heavily in her ribs. Just looking at the doorway of the room made her skin crawl. Rosa gathered her wits and stared at the journal in her hand. She hoped it would contain the information they needed. Chapter 6, Good Intentions, and that's where I'm going to leave it for today because, oh boy, we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot this chapter, this journey. I got a little bit too emotional there. Sorry, I was a bit tongue-tied. It's been a week since I was recording and I'm very tired. But that's it for now. I'll see you in the next part of Cupid. Bye-bye.